Welcome into First Listen here on Knotfest and the Knotfest official Twitch. So great to have everybody here tonight. And along with Hardcore Keem, we've got the amazing Aaron Pauley. How are you tonight, Aaron?
I'm good. How are you guys doing?
We are doing well.
Excellent.
And we're here to listen, be the first listen. The album just dropped. The new Bloom EP, the second of 3 EPs out now. So how is that to kind of get this finally out, Aaron?
It feels good. I think anytime you work on music and then release it, it's kind of like exhaling after holding your breath for a long time. It's just a feeling of just relief, and
Right.
it's always an exciting thing to share music with people.
Nice. Well, you and I spoke on Talk to Me a while back on the first EP. So
Yep.
now we're at the second EP. You know, is this a trilogy, a story that's being told throughout the record, or are we just releasing a few songs at a time?
It is. It tells a story. I think in the sense that, all of our stories, individually and collectively, always impact the music that we make. Pardon me. And then, I think it's sort of it is a trilogy, and each EP is sort of its own snapshot of the time period of whatever kind of we were going through and living through and experiencing. And so, the first EP that we'd released was written kind of around the beginning of the pandemic. Some of the songs were before, and some of the songs were right during the beginning of that. A lot of this EP was worked on from summer through fall of last year. And that was, I had lost my mother-in-law and in July rather. And then Tino had lost his mom in November. So there was like a lot of personal loss, and at the same time, a lot of collective loss because of the pandemic, seeing COVID fatality numbers every day. So I think feelings of grief and loss, as well as sort of like, questioning your own mortality and impermanence, and, kind of realizing that life is really short in terms of life feels really long when you're young. And then you get to a certain age where things like that start happening more frequently to either yourself or to people in your life. And you realize life is short and it's precious, and that's kind of what makes it beautiful in a way.
Right. Keem, you got anything before we dive into the CP?
Well, first, my condolences to you and your family, and of course, Tino's. I'm ready for this EP. I'm ready. I'm ready for it, man.
All right. So first track on the EP is called Levy.
That's good, man. Hey, first of all, I'll congratulate you. Like I was told to me, listen, I heard you at JB's elsewhere, and you still got that power. Like, you still got that.
Hey, there's more of that coming too.
Like, man,
that's a different discussion.
Okay. Oh, I got you. We all straight. I got you.
No, that Levy was a fun one, especially the end of that song.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's just the most dissonant chord.
Right.
And it's dissonant between the guitars, bass, and I think there's even like a piano that's playing some notes it probably shouldn't be.
It feels like you took the bass and just tuned it down like. All right, just a quick thing on the lyrics there. You better learn to walk on water, or what was it? Fly with broken wings.
Mm-hmm.
Give me a little bit of the background on that one.
So the inspiration, or I guess the idea behind when that mean old Levy finally cracks and breaks, Led Zeppelin.
Nice.
That's sort of like referencing in that song, it talks about the rain touches everything I love until it's all washed away. That represents like mortality or death. The idea of the levee breaking, the idea of kind of rain coming, and sort of mortality plays itself out, and you lose more people around you the older you get. When it finally is your turn, you better either have learned to walk on water or fly with broken wings. Both of those things are pretty well impossible. So it's kind of, I guess it's just a roundabout way of saying, we're all going to die. I guess.
Poetically put.
I guess when it really comes down to it, I guess that's what I'm talking about now that I'm like saying
Really
it
thinking
out loud.
about it. Yeah.
But yeah, I think the older you get, the more you're just kind of faced with that. And the more you sort of will carve out time to rationalize that or think about that, I guess.
Nice. Rock and Roll Podcast in the chat room says, cheers, that was killer. And then Rock with Autism 14 says, we are speaking to the legend himself. So
Where?
Right? Is somebody else in on this? We're talking to Keem.
That's what's up.
Let's dive into Bloom here.
Wait, before we get in, what is your favorite track off this EP? I just gotta ask. I like to know.
Oh man. My personal favorite is probably Bloom.
Okay.
Because I think it really sort of encapsulates the I think just musically and lyrically it sort of encapsulates that the feelings that we were all kind of feeling and going through in a way that felt very honest. And maybe that's like a cheesy thing to say, but I think sometimes you listen to something that you make back and some of it rings more true than others in a way. And I think that song, at least for me, when I listen to it, it's like, wow, I said those things. Like I went there with it. And sometimes it's for like a really personal topic like that, sometimes it's kind of like, I don't know, a sense of accomplishment, I guess, or feeling proud of oneself that you were able to discuss something like that and be vulnerable and at the same time like use that to connect with people.
I got all. Yeah. Well said.
Good stuff.
But guys, I think they all offer their own they offer their own sort of take and their own sort of feelings and their own sort of like interpretations of grief, I guess. So they're all kind of unique in that way. But I think personally, I really like Bloom.
Okay. All right. Hey, I can see why Bloom is your favorite. Definitely. Man, it's just there's like so many elements. I like the background guitar, especially in the like the whole outro. It breaks like this atmosphere. Yeah. And then wait, what was it again to me? Like when he like left, I was like that. He keeps on like saying that like in the chorus, and I'm like, that's sticking with me.
I mean, I know it's no honey made from fake bouquets. So
I've never heard that before.
Is that a saying, Aaron? Is that like something you grew up hearing, or are you just a genius?
No, it was just something I was thinking about. I read a poem by a guy named Peter Mankey. It was about the man who invented plastic roses is dead. Mm-hmm. And it talks about how, he never truly knew beauty because flowers are beautiful because they die, but that plastic roses are a success because of the time and place and because of the world that we live in, where people would rather like have a flower that lasts forever than have a flower that dies. And so I think the sort of dichotomy of like a fake bouquet that looks beautiful and lasts forever, but like you don't get honey from that, and it says like no wine from fruit made out of wax, like wine and honey being sort of like the good things in life. You can get sort of representations of them from wax fruit and from fake bouquets, but like you don't get any of the good stuff. But honey and wine also goes bad, so
right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Lots to chew on, I guess.
That is awesome. Yeah, because when you kept on saying it, I'm like, it's like sticking to me. I'm like, what does he mean by that? And I like that.
Some comments in the chat room. Rock and Roll Podcast. Those drums, damn great production. Talk a little bit about that. The recording an album during a pandemic. How did that work for you guys?
We did the whole thing over Zoom. Everybody engineered their parts and sent them to me, and then I did like editing, mixing, and mastering, and then that was that. So we did this whole thing in house. So when somebody says the production's awesome, thank you. That's like a huge compliment.
That's awesome.
That was something that in the back of my mind, I was like, initially when we'd first kind of put out self-produced music, I was a little worried about. I was like, man, if somebody says the song sucks, like that's not going to wound me. But if somebody's like, oh, this production's
Right.
shit, then that would probably wound me more than saying they didn't like the song.
Yeah.
No,
So
but it
which
was
compliment?
awesome.
Which one do you like best? The that we're analyzing the lyrics, or someone said great production?
Right.
Oh man, I don't know. Everything's it's all its own little craft in its way, I guess. It's all its own little project.
Well, I'll ask you this. I mean, since you're kind of releasing these songs 3 at a time, I mean, does this give you more of a chance to let people kind of live with them and kind of because we're only going to talk about these 3 right now, but if you released an entire album, we would just fly through it and then it would be over. But you release 3 at a time, people have a little bit more time to digest them.
It's that, and it's also we get to have less of a stopgap between the events in our lives that inspire us to create music and then sharing that music with people.
Yeah.
It's a whole, if especially if you're writing a record about loss, if, when you can share something that you've made that is a tribute to the people that you've lost, and also just to kind of commiserate with other people who've lost people, it feels better to release that closer to that loss, if that makes sense, than it does necessarily to like write about something that's really heavy and then live a year of your life and maybe you're not necessarily in the same place to have that conversation all the time, versus you're getting to sort of share lived experiences as you're living them, rather than
Right.
like, okay, I'm going to live a year and a half and create an album and then sit on that for a year, and then by the time anybody will hear any of that, it's sort of you're kind of at a different place in life.
Right.
So it's sort of an interesting and refreshing way of doing it, especially after, for us, this would be our 7th album, I think.
Wow.
Or 8th. I don't know. It's one of those numbers.
Right.
It's for us, it just the process never gets old. And so being able to release music in a more timely manner, and also like you get a little bit more creative freedom, I think, when you're working on smaller chunks of material. You can sort of push the boundaries a little bit more on your creative expression, rather than maybe when you're on a full album, everything maybe has to be a little bit more cohesive in that realm. But
well, you got to think that there are people out there that wrote and recorded an entire album that was heavy to them at the time, pre-pandemic, and label didn't want to release it until touring was available. So it's just now getting released. So you've got people that put their heart and soul into something over a year and a half ago or a year ago that meant so much to them. And then the entire world just goes through this entire, loss and everything else together. And so some of the things that you might have been sad about pre-pandemic seem to be maybe a little bit, trivial at this point. If that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think just to be able to sort of have those conversations when they're relevant to you,
Right.
Good times.
Did I lose you?
No, you're there.
No, yeah, I like that.
We got let's jump into pulling teeth.
Listen, I'm gonna need to hear that live. I'm gonna need to hear that, full sound system, full PA. You know what I'm saying? I need to smack somebody real quick to that song. You know what I'm saying?
Is it still playing, or is it
No,
over?
it's over now.
It ended.
We just got done with the breakdown at the end there.
Oh yeah.
I'm assuming you guys have not played these in a room together, have you?
No.
Oh, wow, that's so crazy. Technology is just so insane these days.
Yeah.
It's wild, and it's so funny too, because when we would, in between tours and stuff, we'd go home and there's not really time to practice in between stuff, and then we'd pick it back up for rehearsals, and it's one of those things where I'm so looking forward to playing these songs with my bandmates, because it just brings a whole new dynamic when we start playing them live together.
Yeah.
Right. Well, that was the Bloom EP that is out now on Sharp Tone Records, man. It's awesome. You got me?
Yeah, thank you guys for having me. Thanks for jamming it, and thanks for putting up with me.
No, thanks for putting up with us.
Disconnecting and reconnecting over and over.
Keem, got any last words for him?
Hey, people in the chat, go stream this. Go stream this. Spotify, Apple Music, Google Play. If you got it, go stream this. Man. Okay, I gotta pick a favorite song. I have to. I gotta go to Bloom, man. Bloom just had that whole overall like feeling and just like atmosphere, because it wasn't just the instruments, it was the shout out to the producer of who produced it, like who, you know what I'm saying? I mean,
Right.
whoever that guy is, the production is just like A1 on it. Like you can hear each individual instrument and like the feeling, and I felt the emotion as well. So definitely
That rules. That's like the whole. That's it. That's the A+. If you could feel what we were
absolutely.
feeling, then that's mission accomplished.
Yeah, especially at the end, the whole outro. Yeah, I definitely felt the emotion.
Nice. And to leave you off with some...
go ahead.
Well, I was going to
say I appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Keem, Toomey, you guys are legends.
Thanks, man. No, you're the legend in the room here. Quick,
sure.
you got a few things here. The chat room followed you guys earlier today. Blah blah blah. The G's that ending pure heat from the chat room from Latrell MF. Now the teeth are being pulled. Rock and Roll podcast here. Amazing voice from Rock and Roll. And Minka, New Jersey says of Mice and Men's new song is fire emoji ×3. So there you go, man. Instant gratification here on the Knotfest Twitch.
Absolutely, man.
Well, that's awesome. Well, hey, you guys have a good rest of your night, and we'll see you out there sooner than later.
Can't wait.
All right, man.
And I can't wait to come back and talk about the third EP, because we just finished it. We just finished it up. I just turned in the masters for it, and it's fire. I can't wait.
Hey, so we'll see you soon.
Absolutely. Awesome. Keem, Toomey, you guys are legends. I mean it. Seriously. Thank you guys.
Thank you, brother. You have a good one.
Hey, take it easy.
Take care.